Only about half of Republicans say Trump is focused on the right priorities, AP North poll finds. Really? I assume that half, the other half, the half of Republicans that think he's been focusing on the wrong things, i.e., all the stuff he said he was going to do on the campaign trail, there are those delusional cultists who are like, yeah, I disagree with everything Trump does and has done, but like I agree with him in spirit, you know? Like, yeah, Trump's, deporting the wrong people and he's doing a lot of harm and the tariffs are hurting my business, but I wouldn't change my vote and also he'll like turn it around soon. My understanding of Trump, based on my experience of living under his presidency for 4 years and now having voted him in a second time, it was my third vote for him, though, by the way, stop the steal. My experience with him is that he's very not hard-headed and he will change his mind when he's presented with contrary information. Somebody will tell him, hey, stop doing the things you said you were going to do and start doing another undefined, vague set of things that your supporters think you're going to do, which are somehow both the same and not the same thing as the things you're currently doing. I bet he'll change his mind. He'll change his mind. Of all US adults, only 25% say he has the right priorities. Wow, that's actually pretty bad. I like to be really cynical about the stupid, ugly, disgusting people in this country. The fact that only 24% say that he's focusing on the right things, only 54% of Republicans. Damn. Keep in mind that Trump is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. He's been more honest this time than during his first term. In his first administration, he didn't do a lot of what he said. He said he'd build the wall, make Mexico pay for it. That was like his #1 campaign promise. He didn't do it. This time, he's been doing everything he said. Tariffs everywhere? Yeah. Deport everyone? Yeah. Violate the Constitution? Remove rule of law? Yeah. Hell yeah, man. He's doing all of it. We're getting exactly what we voted for. True, he didn't lock Hillary up after he won the first time, too. In case you needed another reason to hate him, am I right? I think most people literally don't know what's going on. My dad literally said Trump wouldn't defy the Supreme Court over getting Garcia home. Yep, I mean, it's the final stage of like being in a cult, right? Like when objective reality stares you down the barrel, you're just like, well, no. Like if you can't defend, then simply invent a reality where you don't have to defend. I have to say, the fact that only 9% of independents say that he's focusing on the right thing, that's pretty significant. This is actually a pretty damning poll. 24% of US adults, 9% of independents, only 54% of Republicans. And yeah, a lot of people are saying it's about an even mix of right and wrong priorities. But considering the fact that Trump's support is defined mostly by like idolatry, right? Like people who support Trump don't just like, critically support him. They're fanatics for him. That's pretty bad. A lot don't know, though. Yeah, I mean, Americans are stupid. Like, they're idiots. They're dumb. They have small brains. We know this. But keep in mind, this is still the honeymoon period. I know it feels like we've been here in the torment nexus for years. It's been 3 months. It's been 100 days. And this is the most unpopular presidency at this point ever, beating even his first administration. I mean, I don't know. I stand by what I said early on, which is that the wave of harm is going to be most pronounced in the beginning. And that's because even if you're an authoritarian, which Trump is and his administration is, you always have to work with the public mandate. Because the more people don't approve of you, don't support you, the more traitors you get, the more people in your administration who start publicly backtalking you, the more people start to run against you, the more people protest against you, the more breakdowns there are in your administration as people at every level of governance start to individually go, wait, hold on, I don't agree with this. You need a constant state of hysteria. And the reason why they're acting fast now is because, they know popularity is going to go down. And boy, is it going down. Why Americans so dumb? America has the most money circling around it of any country on earth, which means the bourgeoisie have the most control here, which means that they have an ungodly presence in media. America's wealth doesn't mean that every American is getting, fancy cars and fancy houses. A lot of them are. What it largely means is that an unprecedented number of billions are being funneled into media to make, to manufacture consent. It looks like dissent is already coming about. Bessent does not back up Trump on China tariff discussions. Bessent has very obviously not been like down with what the Trump administration's been doing for a while. Like his job has essentially been to go on news, to talk to Fox News or whatever, and defend indefensible policies. Bessent's not an idiot, right? And he's also not as shameless of a liar as a lot of the other people working with Trump. So he goes on to Fox Business or whatever, and grinning through his teeth, he's like, yeah. No. These tariffs will bring back American manufacturing. Yeah, for sure. And then he goes back to the, to the Oval Office, and he's like, Trump, please stop. Scott Bessent on Sunday did not back Trump's assertion that tariff talks with China were underway, and said he did not know if the U.S. president had talked to Xi Jinping. Interesting. Democrats seem even unhappier with the reality of the second Trump term than they were before he was sworn in on January 20th. That makes sense. Rasan Henderson, a Democrat from California, said, quote, "It has been one of the longest 100 days I've ever had to sit through." Yeah. 46% of Americans approve of his handling of immigration. God, we're a sickening country. I don't know. It seems like the honeymoon period never really happened, but to whatever extent it did happen, it seems like it might be over. You notice that you've been hearing a lot less like ooh-rah hysteria from the right lately? Over the past, for the first 2 months, it was nonstop. Every day you wake up, you open your eyes, you breathe, they're screaming. We're doing this, we've done that, bigly. It seems like over the past month or so, and I'm not saying it doesn't still happen, but it has tapered down somewhat. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot less about the mandates, a lot less about the public mandate. We'll see. Keep in mind that the dwindling popularity of an authoritarian isn't necessarily a good thing. Look at what's happening in India, right? Modi is an authoritarian with dwindling popularity. What is he doing now? Trying to start a war with Pakistan. War with Iran. Yeah, don't jinx it. Didn't Netanyahu literally, like, in the past 24 hours say that he was committed to striking nuclear facilities in Iran? That might be our pit. From what I'm hearing at my job, a lot of the West Coast ports are ghost towns right now. Store shelves are going to be completely empty within a month if things don't change fast. Can you guys bring up the boat tracker again? The big map that shows all the shipping boats, please? Thank you very much. If you think Trump's unpopular now, just you wait. And it started? Why do I have this person blocked? Look at the sheer number of ships that are bound for California that are stuck in ports in China. These are goods that would normally get to the U.S. within 14 to 21 days. The shortages are inevitable at this point. Wow, no kidding. Just like eyeballing that.
New today, consumer sentiment plummeting to one of the lowest levels on record amid a fierce trade war. Retailers are warning of empty shelves reminiscent of the pandemic, with the 145% tariff on nearly all Chinese imports in place. Yesterday, President Trump said he's ready to make a deal with President Xi.
Entirely one-sided communication, by the way. Trump raises tariffs on China 18 times. We're ready for a deal. Get ready for a deal. He wants a deal. He just doesn't know how to say it. Xi Jinping, he simply waits. In his mind, not every situation needs a reaction. Learn to sit back and observe. He's playing the long game.
Have you spoken?
Oh, sorry. Wait, hold on. I also wanted to show this image. Not a single international cargo ship at the port of Seattle. The port is dead. The last ship from China will dock at a West Coast port on the 29th, and the last Chinese ship will dock on the East Coast around May 10th. After that, there will be no more shipments arrive from China. We're screwed. Goodbye, the anthology. I really, really enjoyed your clothing while I had it. By the way, I can personally attest to this. On the big walk that I did around Seattle the other day, yesterday, a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Normally, when walking from a vantage point where I can see the bay, I can see a good number of ships making the runabout Harbor Island. It did feel a bit quieter yesterday. Not that I can really judge that from where I was looking, but it did feel that way. Now, really, can you take a pic of the bay and the docks? I can take a pic of my gay and the gawks. Wait.
To him since the tariffs. When did you last
I don't want to comment on that, but I've spoken to him many times.
When did that happen and what did you discuss?
I'll let you know at the appropriate time. Let's see if we can make a deal.
Meantime, major ports like the Port of Los Angeles are seeing a steep drop in imports from China. And joining me now, we have Lorianne LaRocco, global supply chain reporter for CNBC Business News. That Lori is also the author of the book Trade War, Containers Don't Lie, Navigating the Bluster. Lori, big
I'm going to try to use this marine tracker thing. I want to see if I can filter it so that the only type of ship that we're seeing are cargo ships. And then I'm going to try to see outbound from China.
Welcome to you. So when it comes to the prospect of empty store shelves, which products could be hit hardest, and should consumers be worried? I mean, are you seeing a rush to buy certain things right now?
We really shouldn't see a rush because we actually have the items in. It's going to hit us in waves, Alex. And this is what we're going to kind of see with the timeline. Starting in June, this is where you're going to start seeing, those items that we love to get really cheap online. Those are the items that are going to get hit first. And those are like the fast fashion.
I don't know how to do it.
Products we might get on Amazon. And the reason why is that smaller businesses, they can't afford to have front loaded, right, all of these items in to beef up their inventory. Then starting in July, this is critical because this is the back to school time, right, where parents are going into the stores to get their kids their school clothes. So you're looking at backpacks, you're looking at notebooks, you're going to be looking at all of these items that some have been brought in.
Is this good for the climate, though?
There has been a major pause when you're looking at the amount of items that have been brought in, and people are just really uncertain, if you will. Is it going to consumer going to buy? We have seen the pullback on a multitude of different economic indicators in terms of that hesitancy, and without really any definitive acknowledgement of what's going on, we're going to see this pullback. And then in addition to the fast fashion and the school clothes, also electronics, because the connectivity, right, of the inventory of the supply chain.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that in 1 second. But let me ask, because you're saying basically we have until June, that the supply is there as of now. Does that apply to the car industry? Because we reported people are rushing out to buy cars or renew leases.
Yeah, there are some filters that you have to buy a marine tracker subscription for or something. This is this just shows all cargo ships, so you can see, but whether or not it's going to America or from China, I can't filter for that, at least unless there's a filter that I'm not aware of. Why do they go up? Because the earth isn't flat, it's round. This is a straight line right here. Lol. No, I think that's a fair question. It's not intuitive.
Or whatever they need to do.
Yeah, it really depends on the item. I mean, when it comes to the autos, Alex, it's those tariffs that have already been slapped. And so people are trying to get in there, right? Let's get that car that's out in the lot now before another one has to come in that will be more expensive. So that's why you're seeing that rush for the bigger ticket items.
Okay, so it's about the bottom dollar there. So we learned yesterday that China exempted some U.S.-made microchips from tariffs. Does this indicate that China is backing down on some level?
I really don't think so, Alex. I mean, it shows that there's a willingness, right, of the cooperation. But as we have seen with the prior trade war,
I don't know if I'd necessarily call that cooperation. Are U.S. ports empty?
On this episode of What's Going On with Shipping, are U.S. ports empty? I'm your host. We'll not see all the vessels yet out of East Asia because they're making shuttle runs. It is not until they leave their final port and declare L.A. as their destination do they show up here. They take that big arching Great Circle route across the Pacific here and are heading into LA. So I did a video not too long ago where I talked about our ships turning around. They're not turning around. What we're seeing is what's called blank sailings, where the vessels, the scheduled sailings, are being canceled. As I mentioned before, about 10%. Port of LA shows you their services that come across by alliances, so you can track this. So, for example, the Ocean Alliance, which is they have excellent information. Like I said, you can get one had to do with the shifting of cargo over to the West Coast because of the port strike in the East.
It's interesting. Maybe a little bit too technical for a broader segment about how Trump's honeymoon is over and he's lost the public mandate. But, you know,